The issue with store-made or ready-made desserts is the fact that they are loaded with sugar and fat, but no nutrition. Most of them have bioengineered ingredients that are just terrible for your health and terrible for your weight. So if you're trying to lose weight like me and you're trying to stay healthy, sweets need to be readjusted. So in this video, I'm going to give you the recipes for all of my favorite desserts that I have created. And all of these recipes are nutrient dense, lower in sugar, higher in protein, as well as fiber and omegas. And after eating those, you will feel satisfied, and then you will also not feel sluggish and hungry for more sugar afterwards. Healthier for you milkshakes and ice cream and chocolates and oatmeals that taste like dessert, and simple desserts that are easy to put together, as well as puddings, cheesecakes, and cakes. All delicious, very easy. Nobody wants to spend an hour when they've got a craving. You want it now. And so all of these treats that I'm about to show you can be made in a matter of minutes, and they can be stored in the refrigerator or the freezer. And then when those cravings hit, you can pull them out and you can have them within just a few minutes. Today, I got the worst craving for a milkshake, chocolate milkshake. So I'm going to start by adding some frozen bananas into my blender, and then I'm going to add some Oikos 000 vanilla yogurt, which makes this high in protein. And you can use another yogurt if you don't like this one. It's just that this one is reasonably low in Weight Watchers points and still tastes very good. So that's what I use. Next, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons worth of peanut butter powder. And just, of course, try not to make a big old mess like I just did. And I just used the original PB Fit or PB Fit Classic. Next, I'm going to add a healthy spoonful of this Hershey's unsweetened cocoa powder. This particular brand is 0 Weight Watchers points. Some of the other brands do have like a point, but this brand is 0 points as long as you use like a spoon of it. And then I'm just adding some milk. You can use whatever type of milk that you would normally use. But I just finished off the gallon, and then you can adjust it. You can blend it and then add more milk later if you need to adjust the consistency of your milkshake. So once you've kind of blended it up, I usually try to just go down the sides with a little spatula to get it all down in the blender, and then blend one more time. This is also a good time to check the consistency. Once you have the consistency where you like it, you can go ahead and pour it. And of course, it's optional, but I do like to garnish this with a little bit of Cool Whip. This is the 1 Weight Watcher point, 0 sugar, the 0 sugar Cool Whip. Okay guys, our chocolate milkshake is ready. Next up is similar to a soft serve ice cream or a Frosty. So I'm just going to add some banana to a blender, as well as some powdered peanut butter, and also a spoonful of that cocoa powder. And we're not going to add any liquid. It is going to take a bit of time to blend this. You'll have to open the blender and push those bits down near the blades. You also need a very good quality blender for this, and it will slowly but surely blend it up together. It basically tastes like a soft serve ice cream or similar to a Wendy's Frosty. I'm going to show you how to make these delicious gourmet chocolate covered dates filled with peanut butter, and you can also stuff them with a walnut or a pecan in order to make them taste similar to a Snickers bar. This literally tastes like something that you bought from an expensive chocolate shop. It's good stuff. If I am tempted to grab a piece of chocolate, a chocolate truffle, or something like a Snickers bar, this will absolutely fill that craving. And at least there's no bioengineered ingredients. These are wholesome food ingredients that are good for you. They have fiber. They are high in calories. You're talking nuts, dates, chocolate out of the freezer to thaw, to just have myself an occasional treat. And I'm going to show you how to make it. This is so easy to make. Here I have some high quality medjool dates that I have removed those pits from. Make sure you remove the pits. You don't want to be eating those. And then I have some powdered peanut butter that I have mixed with a little bit of water to create a thick peanut butter. If you do not have peanut butter powder or you just use regular peanut butter, you can certainly use regular peanut butter here. In fact, the initial recipe that I found called for regular peanut butter, but regular peanut butter is higher in Weight Watcher points. This is considerably lower. It's probably at least 7 points lower in Weight Watcher points. And so for that reason, I use the powdered peanut butter. I don't think I'm missing anything by doing it that way, but you can use either one. The original recipe covered the entire date with chocolate all the way around. And for one thing, that's just a little bit harder, but not only that, it's more chocolate. Chocolate is high in Weight Watcher points. So if you're not watching your weight, by all means, dip the whole thing in chocolate. Personally, I am watching my weight, so I just covered about 2/3 of the date in chocolate and left the bottom side bare. I think that it's just easier to do that, but it's also, like I said, it's less chocolate and therefore lighter in Weight Watcher points, and it's plenty sweet. So, yeah, I would recommend doing it that way, but by all means, like I said, dip the whole thing if you're not watching your weight or you're not so worried about that. And that's basically it. We're gonna put them on a piece of parchment to basically harden and firm up. But once you get all of these done, you can just pop these in the refrigerator and they will solidify. And then you can serve them right away. Or if you're like me and you only want to eat like one or two at a time, you can put these in a freezer bag and store them in the freezer so that when that craving hits, you just pull them out and let them thaw for like a few minutes and they'll be ready to enjoy. So my dates just came out of the refrigerator. It's just a very simple snack that you can make. These taste better than any truffle I've ever eaten. These taste fancy. These taste like something you bought from a gourmet chocolate shop, but they are reasonably easy to put together. I'm not really in the mood for a snack right now, so I'll just, you see how nice those look? This is the smallest one. They're ooey gooey inside. Mm. Oh my God. They are better with the nuts inside, in my opinion, but they are good either way. It's just a difference in texture. There really isn't much difference in the taste. This was photos from the last time I made this. I stuffed mine with a walnut as well as the peanut butter, and this is the inside of the way that one looked. All right, guys, so I have popped my little chocolate-covered dates into a freezer bag to put in the freezer for later. I decided I'm going to make a carrot cake oatmeal. Let's go in the kitchen and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, guys, so to make this oatmeal, we're going to put 1.5 cups of oats. Use old-fashioned, not instant. 1/2 cup or however much shredded carrot you would like, followed by 3 cups of water. Then we're going to secure the lid and adjust the time down to 4 minutes. Once the time has lapsed, we're just going to allow about 2 minutes to natural pressure release, and then we're going to release the rest of the steam. So we're going to cook it high pressure 4 minutes, 2 minutes natural pressure release, and then release all the remaining pressure. So I have chopped up 3 medjool dates and a handful of pecans. So I am going to put this dried fruit and nuts in my oatmeal. If you don't have these ingredients, don't worry. You can simply substitute it out for whatever dried fruit you like. I think if I didn't have the medjool dates at this time, I might have used some raisins or some dried apricots. I think those would be good. But really it's whatever dried fruit and nut you like, and also whatever you happen to have in the house. Like in my case, this just happens to be what I had, so this is what I'm using. And then I'm also going to put in some ground cinnamon. That's going to be to taste. And then I'm also going to put in just a little bit of ground cardamom. And of course, this is optional. If you don't have the cardamom or you just don't like it, you can just leave it out. And then I'm going to be using my Mootopia vanilla milk that I like so much. If you don't have that, you can always just use regular milk and sweetener of choice. This is one of my favorite sweeteners. It's just organic date sugar, and the only ingredient is organic dates. So this is one of my favorites, but you can use whatever sugar you would normally use. Okay guys, so here I have my carrot cake oatmeal. Literally zero effort. It's berries or any other type of fresh fruit with zero sugar whipped topping. One Weight Watcher point. Next, I'm going to make one of my all-time favorites that I make constantly, which is just going to utilize this Oikos 000 yogurt that I have added. I've rinsed the container because I'm going to store the finished dessert in that container when I'm done. So first I'm going to add some PB Fit or peanut butter powder. You can use any brand that you prefer. This is the brand that I usually use. So just add some of that. It should be pretty thick, so just mix until it's thick enough. And then some ground flaxseed. And flaxseed adds some additional omega-3s, and it also adds a nice texture to this, and it also thickens it a bit, so I figure why not. This is perfect to add in, and it keeps you full longer. And then I'm going to add in a couple tablespoons of sugar-free Cool Whip. I'm going to add a little bit more on the top to serve, but I've just put a little bit in the dessert for creaminess. And I got my stand mixer here, my KitchenAid, so I'm putting that to work. But if you don't have one of these, you can always just mix this up by hand. You just a little more elbow grease to do it that way. No big deal. And so you're just going to mix it until smooth and creamy. For the best texture, allow it to chill in the fridge for about an hour or two. There's of course many ways that you could serve this, but I'll usually serve this in a bowl topped with banana and another spoon of the Cool Whip. And sometimes you could also add just a little tiny drizzle of caramel syrup over the top, but look how delicious it is. Oh man, this is so satisfying. And then I just store the remaining dessert in the original container in the fridge. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a pumpkin pie version that is very similar to the peanut butter version. You will never see cans in my kitchen except for emergencies for hurricane preparedness and this one single sweet recipe because there's no sodium in there, or it's very low in sodium. So I'm making an exception. So I'm going to start by adding, I have just a tiny bit of yogurt left in this container, so I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to add another whole container because I like to mix this up. I really enjoy eating this all week, and so does my husband, so we're just going to go ahead and mix up a good batch. And then you can add as much pumpkin as you would like. So I would start with maybe a little less than what you think, and then you can adjust it once you mixed it. And I didn't get a shot of it, but you're going to also put some flaxseed in it to thicken it up. And then cinnamon to taste. That's the end of this container, so I'm just going to add the rest of it. And then I'm going to mix it with my stand mixer because I have it. But of course, as with the other dessert, you don't need to do this with a stand mixer. You don't need this to do it. You can simply just mix it up with any kitchen utensil that you would normally use. So I'm just going to mix until it's pretty smooth. And then I'm going to go ahead and just taste it. For the amount of pumpkin and cinnamon and flaxseed and whipped cream. I'm going to add some of that in there. And then I'm going to do a final mix until it's creamy and ready to go. And then it needs to be chilled in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to cover it and stick it in the refrigerator for just a little bit, maybe a couple hours, and then serve it with Cool Whip. And here you go. That's what it looks like. It's delicious. Next, I'm going to show you how to make my favorite high-protein cheesecakes. You're going to need, for this recipe, about 1 solid cup of yogurt. You can use different flavors of yogurt. I frequently use vanilla just because it's kind of a nice flavor profile, but you can also use strawberry or like a strawberry cheesecake or lime, lemon. Whatever floats your boat. If you want that flavor in your cheesecake, you can use that flavor of yogurt, but you're going to need about a cup of it. So I'm going to put a cup of yogurt in a blender, but actually since this week I'm making 4 ramekins, I usually just make 2 ramekins. You're actually going to put a second cup of the yogurt. So this recipe that I'm showing you right now, This is actually for 4 ramekins of cheesecake. And sometimes I make it in sets of 2 and sometimes I make it in sets of 4. So I'm making 4 today. So it's going to be 2 full cups of the vanilla yogurt. And I'm just going to stick that in the blender. And once that's in the blender, this is going to sound really crazy, but I'm also going to add 2 cups of cottage cheese. And I know if you're thinking you don't like cottage cheese, you're not going to taste it. It's going to be blended up. The texture is not going to be there. It's going to be very smooth. So trust me on this. Just add. It's very simple, and you're not going to taste the cottage cheese if you're a skeptic about this. So it's going to be the 2 cups of the vanilla yogurt, as well as 2 cups of cottage cheese. And the point of using the cottage cheese and the Greek yogurt is that it is going to give it so much protein. These have so much protein that when you eat these, they're not only going to cut your sweet tooth, but they're also going to fill you up. Okay, and once you've got your cottage cheese in the blender, then you're going to add 2 eggs. If you were just doing the 2 ramekins, it's just going to be 1 egg. You're going to cut everything in half, obviously, but I'm making 4 ramekins, so we're going to do 2 eggs in here. Also, the cottage cheese was 1% fat. And then we're going to just pop on the lid, and we're going to blend it up. Blend it until it's totally smooth and you don't have any lumps in there and it's well incorporated. The egg is well mixed in. It should be one solid color. And then we're going to take our 4 ramekins and we're just going to pour this mixture in there. It should fill it most of the way. You'll probably have, I don't know, maybe like a centimeter at the top. It really doesn't matter. You know, just as long as it's not all the way to the tippy top, because it is going to expand and then you're going to have a mess probably. So I would just leave a little bit of a gap, but you're basically going to divide this mixture. If you use this quantity of ingredients, you're not going to have an issue. In 4 of the larger size ramekins, you just pour it evenly into there and just leave a tiny little space at the top. And then you're going to bake it in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 to 35 minutes. Of course, ovens do vary, so you're going to have to, you know, start watching it at 30 minutes and then just check it every couple of minutes until it's done. And it's the typical rules for, you know, when a cheesecake is done, that the top would be moving when you jiggle it as one kind of whole piece. It shouldn't wave around like it's still a liquid like it is here where it's adjusting. It's going to be nice and one solid swoosh in the container as opposed to like a real jiggle. So I'm going to stick these in the oven and then I'll show you what they look like. And here they are. Gosh, these are so good. My husband loves these. Even if you're not on a diet, you're going to love these. Okay, so this week I'm going to go ahead and make 2 of the cheesecakes for my husband. So I do have that mixed up over there, but I'm going to show you how to make the chocolate cake that I also like to make. So here I have, I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's like, it looks to me like fage, but it's basically this fage fat-free. I might be saying that totally wrong. Correct me in the comments if that's not right. But basically, it's a 0% fat Greek yogurt. So I'm going to make 2 servings, which is going to be 2 of these little 12-ounce ramekins. So I'm going to start by measuring out a 1/2 cup of the fat-free, plain, 0% fat Greek yogurt. I'm going to mix this by hand, but I'm going to put in next 2 eggs. And so I'm just going to crack those in. I would have normally done this first before adding the yogurt, but I didn't do that this time. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave them in a corner, and I can use a fork to kind of whisk the eggs together. Just whisk the eggs, and then I'm going to mix it in with the other ingredients later. Next, I'm going to add in some PB Fit, and it's going to be 7 tablespoons. I'm just going to give it to you in tablespoons because sometimes I do make these in single serving portions so that you can just basically multiply or divide. I think it's easier. And then also it's honestly, it's a bit easier just to clean the spoons than it is to clean a million different like serving spoons and measuring cups. So I'm just keeping it simple here as well. So it's going to be 7 tablespoons of the peanut butter powder for 2 servings of the cake. And next I'm going to add in some sweetener. I'm using this date sweetener. I don't have much left in this bag, so I'm just going to finish it and then I'm going to open another one. But if you can see, it's called Date Sugar, Let's Date brand. And it's all natural. All it is 100% dried ground dates. So there's one thing you need to keep in mind about that sweetener is that it does tend to thicken whatever you use it in. So it's not appropriate for everything, but it works good in these cakes. And then I'm going to add in my Hershey's cocoa powder. It's going to be 5 teaspoons for 2 cakes. So again, you can multiply and divide depending on how many you make. I usually make anywhere from 1 to 4 of them. So this is for the measurements that I'm giving you is for the 2 ramekins. And this is actually 0 Weight Watchers points. Some of the cocoa powders are maybe like 1 Weight Watcher point, but this particular brand is actually 0 points. And then I'm just going to put in a teaspoon of baking powder. And then I'm going to go ahead and just mix all of these ingredients together. It's really not worth getting out my stand mixer. I'm just going to go ahead and do it real quick by hand. So I'm just mixing all those ingredients together really well to form a nice cake batter. Now this is what it looks like after you get it all mixed up. So I'm going to go ahead and I oiled a couple of ramekins, lightly oiled with olive oil, just a very small amount. And I'm just going to put this into the ramekins, divide it equally. And then I'm going to bake it at a 350-degree oven. It's going to be for about 30 minutes, but obviously once it gets to about 25 minutes, you're going to want to just double check on it until the toothpick comes out clean. And you definitely do not want to overcook these. So just really after like 25 minutes, just start keeping a very close eye on them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stick these in the oven along with those other 2 cheesecakes that I prepared for this week. And then once those come out, I'll show you what they look like. And here they are. Here's my 2 cheesecakes that I made for my husband, plus the 2 chocolate cakes that I just mixed up. Sometimes I serve these with a little bit of whipped cream on the top or some strawberries. And last but not least are these 2 very simple desserts. You need some peanut butter powder. You can just mix it with a little bit of water to create a peanut butter, and you can adjust the thickness to your liking. Plus, I found these at Aldi, but can buy them on Amazon too. I'll provide the link. You can just serve the peanut butter over the banana with the coconut clusters, and this is so delicious and easy. And then finally is a simplified version of my peanut butter yogurt dessert, which is where you just mix the peanut butter powder directly into the yogurt and garnish with some coconut clusters.